Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We are seeing a historic heater on the recruiting trail from Billy Napier and the Florida Gators, landing another commitment Monday night in 5-star, according to 24/7 Sports, edge rusher Jamonta Waller. The last 72 hours for the Florida Gators has been absolutely incredible. They
Swamp is lit.
Successful official visit weekend I have ever seen. We're going to recap some of the guys that they brought in and get into Jamonta Waller, who legitimately is an absolute stud, and getting back at Ole Miss, taking one from an Ole Miss lean throughout the process. Lane Kiffin thinks he's funny on Twitter, taking Austin Simmons from Florida late. They get him back here, landing 5-star edge rusher Jamonta Waller. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say shout out to the Gator fans. We've talked so much Florida Gators football in the last 72 hours. They've been kind of the team around the country to talk about. You guys have been awesome checking the boys out. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we love talking recruiting. You guys have been awesome with all the support, so we appreciate you, Dill. I'm going to let you just talk a little Billy Napier and Florida Gators before we get into Jamonta Waller here.
Billy Napier haters, he's just stuffing them all back in the garbage can.
He really is.
They were out there, I felt like, for a second. It's like, oh, this team, it sucked last year, and the recruiting class didn't necessarily get off to the hottest of starts, but man, he's turned that around, and I don't know what you can say about him. He's recruiting as well as anybody. He got all those guys on campus, and he converted. And obviously, this one probably feels better given what you said about what Ole Miss just did to him and taking a guy right out of their backyard.
This one has to feel pretty good, and you're seeing a specific strategy with Billy Napier. We've talked about this a lot. Like the lack of depth on the defensive line. Outside of Ron Dexter, it wasn't great. And so what does Billy Napier do? One, he goes in the transfer portal and grabs a few guys in the transfer portal. But he's mostly, for a first or second year head coach, kind of shunned the transfer portal a little. He's gotten a little active, but he's focusing his efforts on getting guys out of high school. So it might be a little bit of a slower rebuild, but I think he's doing it the right way. I mean, Amaris Williams coming in, Nasir Johnson coming in. You have guys like Micah Boryu coming in from Georgia. And then you even look back at what he did in the 2023 class to close it out, landing guys like Kelby Collins, Will Norn, Cameron Jones. Billy Napier is getting back this talent on the defensive line. And this has been the story of Florida football. Like, you fast forward to 2024, 2025, 2026, this might be one of the better defensive lines that we see across the country.
And that'll be the thing. They're going to have a bunch of guys who can play early. It's like next year, or the next couple of years, what are you going to just see freshman, sophomore-led teams?
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Again, if you look out in the future, they're going to have to play at some point, and especially some of those guys, you come in as an athletic defensive lineman and you're ready to rock and roll. You can play. You look at what Peter Woods looks like he's going to be able to do at Clemson this year. He looks like a guy, again, a big-time 5-star player. He's just that athletic right now. He can play. These Florida guys, he's recruiting so many top-tier guys. I think he legit can trot out a team with probably 7-8 sophomores and freshmen and play.
And I think that's what I think that's a portion of why he's so successful right now on the trail. Is teams like Georgia, Alabama, they can't sell early playing time. Florida can. And so you're recruiting a guy like Jamonta Waller and you're saying, hey, you can come here and you can play early for us. And I think that's really resonating with the
that's going to be the test, because you think Georgia, when they first got Kirby Smart and they were bad and in shambles, he was dominating recruiting, and then probably Alabama was thinking, well, this isn't going to last. Just wait till they get good. Georgia's kept it rolling. That's why they're as good as anyone. If Billy Napier can recruit like this now, again, with the advantage of being able to say, well, you can come in and play and be the star right away. If he can carry this out, if they get better and kind of take their position as one of those top teams in the country, and then he can continue to recruit this way, that's how he's going to kind of be able to bring it back to what those Florida Gator teams under Urban Meyer were when they were really rolling.
Yeah, Billy Napier, I really do think he's building something special. It just might take a little longer than some of the other first and second year head coaches. I want to get to Jamonta Waller a little bit, though, because his highlights, his film, truly incredible. You get why he's a 5-star. Taking a look at what he does, elite bursting quickness for a guy his size, right? 6'2", 230. But his get off the ball and his refined pass rushing, I mean, tackles just can't deal with that athleticism. You put a little bit of weight on him, have him playing at like 240, 245. You're looking at one of the burstier, twitched up, bendier guys, and he has power to go put the tackle right on his butt there. Like when you have both the power and the speed to beat tackles, you are a nightmare to deal with. And that's exactly what you're seeing from Jamonta Waller, a guy that also, I mean, look at him get out in space, closing speed. You look at the film, we don't need to beat a dead horse. This guy is an absolute stud. And you go to the Florida's class in 2024, and it's truly turning into one of those special classes, right? They haven't even added in Jamonta Waller, and you're sitting at a top 5 class. Obviously, DJ Lagway headwaying it. I want to talk about some of the guys that they brought in. Now, we recorded and talked about Mekhi Boru, defensive lineman from Georgia, who you beat out Georgia for. But then you also bring in Marcus Maskell from the state of Georgia, who also really good frame for that tackle spot. This Florida Gators team, with how many commits do they have? This will be their 16th commitment, and they'll probably be a top 4, maybe even top 3 class in the country. And it sounds like they're not even going to be done anytime soon.
No, and what would make you think they're done? It's like, well, you didn't think it could get that much more after Saturday night when they got 4 of them in one day, and then
yeah, you keep thinking they're done, and then they're not
rolling on. It's like this is maybe just what Florida is now. Maybe Billy's got them back to being a primetime destination for top talent.
Yeah, and I think that one position that a lot of Florida fans are waiting to kind of hit on is that wide receiver position, and I want to go back to the talent that they brought in Friday, June 2nd, with all this momentum. Like this could be the time where we maybe see Jeremiah Smith maybe flip his commitment. Like we've seen, this is about as crazy of a recruiting 72 hours we've seen for the Florida Gators. And Jeremiah Smith's been on campus. He's been very interested. Is this enough to maybe say, hey, this is a program that I can be a part of this turnaround? But even like looking at the other guys that have been on campus and like they might not even be done recruiting the defensive line. You've had David Stone on campus. You've had a guy like Jordan Ross, another 5-star edge rusher. We talked about this when Florida maybe was taking some losses on the recruiting trail. Maybe it's a slow start. You're sitting outside the top 15, top 20. The amount of talent the Florida Gators have had in Gainesville over this month and in the spring, like you're feeling pretty good about this class and their sticking power in terms of being a top 3 class come December.
Yeah, I don't know what would make you like doubt it at this point. I mean, obviously it is flips and all that happen, but they happen both ways. Like, not lest we forget that. It's like, yeah, Jeremiah Smith's not part of the class right now, but
could be.
I mean, it doesn't feel like he's stuck with Ohio State or fully locked in. He's still taking his visits to Georgia and Florida and everyone else. So, of course, like, I mean, you have Jaden Rashadas in one corner, and then you have flips in the other way. So it's just another game.
It does feel like this class though is like a very like they have that feeling like this is the class similar to Michigan's class where it's like this is the future of this program. And I think a lot of them probably are pretty locked in on turning around this Florida program. I think Billy Napier is showing his chops on the recruiting trail and maybe just getting used to recruiting that SEC caliber of player. And the development's always been good for Billy Napier. In terms of a program developing standpoint, like he did a phenomenal job at Louisiana. He took a lot of guys who were not even ranked, according to 24/7 Sports, on 3. Guy like Osiris Torrance, put him out to the NFL draft. And so you feel good about the player development. You feel good about the culture that's being put in. Then you need the talent. Well, the talent seems to be on its way in the 2023 and now 2024 class.
I mean, now you just got to put it together on the field. Like, obviously, last year wasn't probably good enough. Given what they have this year, it may not be an SEC title team, or probably not right now. But in the coming years, of course, the ultimate question is can he win? Like, you can bring this talent in and all that. The next step in his journey is to shut it. Like, all right, finally, like we'll go beat Georgia. We'll go be really competitive in all those games they're supposed to be.
And I'll tell you what, I'm feeling pretty damn good about this Florida Gators team winning some football games in 2024 and 2025 in the future. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Again, we've talked so much Florida Gators football the last 72 hours. Absolute heater for Billy Napier and the boys. Appreciate you guys checking the fellas out. If you do enjoy the content, you enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. Florida fans, as the commits keep coming, we'll keep talking about it. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.